Again, this is a developing story. There has been an explosion.
Absolutely shocking.
Meteorological Agency says a quake with an estimated magnitude of 5.3 occurred on Saturday at 5:49 a.m. Japan time. Officials say its focus was in Tokyo Bay. The quake registered 5- on the Japanese intensity scale of 0 to 7 in Chofu City, western Tokyo.
Southern Japan, with a volcano erupting there, sending up huge plumes of grey ashen smoke. And authorities have banned people from within 2 kilometres of the crater. Mount Aso is located on the southernmost main island of Kyushu. It sent plumes 2,000 metres into the air.
They're saying that Schmidt was actually shot in the head at least once. So this is an active shooter situation there at Delta State University. This is in Cleveland, Mississippi. You can see there, this is a delay. We don't want to give away the operations there on the ground.
Watch this video of rescue crews racing to save a family from a car moments from being swept away.
Yeah, they're getting everybody out.
Children pulled quickly from the car windows.
He's starting to build a heck of a dam.
The flood so strong, trees uprooted by the current pileup.
That's pretty powerful.
Japan Meteorological Agency says a quake with an estimated magnitude of 5.3 occurred on Saturday at 5:49 a.m. Japan time. Officials say its focus was in Tokyo Bay. The quake registered 5- on the Japanese intensity scale of 0 to 7 in Chofu City, western Tokyo. Firefighters in central Tokyo say they're responding to 3 calls about injuries. Some railway lines in the Tokyo area suspended operations, but they're now running again. Once again, an earthquake has hit Tokyo and surrounding areas. Officials say there's no possibility of a tsunami. The Japan Meteorological Agency says a quake with an estimated magnitude of 5.3 occurred on Saturday at 5:49 a.m. Japan time. Officials say its focus was in Tokyo Bay. The quake registered 5- on the Japanese intensity scale of 0 to 7 in Chofu City, western Tokyo. Firefighters in central Tokyo say they're responding to 3 calls about injuries. Some railway lines in the Tokyo area suspended operations, but they're now running again.
Tuesday, the police wanted to arrest people that had stayed in the mosque overnight. Rocks were thrown, stun grenades fired. Those inside the mosque built a barricade at one of the doors. It later caught fire, but was quickly put out. The Palestinian Red Crescent said at least 24 Palestinians were injured in this latest confrontation. 5 Israeli police were said to have been lightly injured. In what has become a pattern, intense fighting in the early morning hours, a cleanup afterward, and like we see now, relative calm. But beneath that calm, there is deep underlying tension. Hardline Israelis want Jews to be allowed to pray on the plaza outside the Al-Aqsa Mosque itself, something that has been banned since the 1967 war, which saw Israel capture East Jerusalem. Muslims say this would provoke further tension and violence. And Jordan, who is the custodian of the Al-Aqsa compound, has a peace treaty with Israel. Said that any more provocations in the Old City will affect the relationship between the two countries. There will be an emergency Israeli security cabinet meeting late Tuesday evening to discuss the latest situation. Scott Heidler, Al Jazeera, in occupied East Jerusalem.
Breaking health news, a case of bubonic plague has now been confirmed in Michigan. Dr. Partha Nandi live in the newsroom with what we're learning about this, Doc.
Yeah, I think the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services says a person who recently returned from Colorado is the one who's tested positive. And the individual is one from Marquette County, which is in the UP. We're told that the person is recovering after receiving the appropriate treatment. Now, this is Michigan's first diagnosis of the plague and the 14th case reported nationally this year.
So, Doc, even though this person lives in the Upper Peninsula, I mean, talk about our cause for concern here in Metro Detroit.
You know, the thing is, it's an important question because people are wondering, am I going to get the plague? And the answer is, probably not, because it's not spread person to person. It's very rarely spread person to person. It's, if you have infected flea bite that comes on, and rarely rodents, if you have a cut or a bite from a rodent, you can get that. But rarely from person to person can you get this. This person was up north, and even up north, if you have individuals that are there, they're rarely at risk for this disease.
And Dr. Nandi, can you remind us of what the bubonic plague does to you?
It could actually cause illness and actually can cause death. I mean, over time, it has caused millions of deaths. But I think the important point is that people should not panic about the fact that they're going to have the bubonic plague. I think what we have to find out is, in Colorado, are there other cases of bubonic plague? And if so, then let's find the vector, where it's coming from, and eradicate it. In Michigan, we haven't had any reported cases, so this person most likely picked it up when they're in Colorado. Also, if you look at other cases in the UP, if there are none, I would not be able to think of there's any reason for concern right now.
Southern Japan, with a volcano erupting there, sending up huge plumes of grey ash and smoke, and authorities have banned people from within 2 kilometres of the crater. Mount Aso is located on the southernmost main island of Kyushu. It sent plumes 2,000 metres into the air, and Japan's meteorological agency says further eruptions are possible and could spew volcanic rock as far as 1 kilometre from the crater. Police are quoted as saying they safely evacuated the area near a ropeway on the mountain and were having other visitors move to lower elevations. Police were still checking to see if any hikers were in the restricted area. The Japanese archipelago sits atop the Pacific Ring of Fire and has more than 100 volcanoes. Mount Aso had a smaller eruption in August, and eruptions in 2014 disrupted tourism in the area.
This is the front yard.
Dramatic video this morning showing a massive and deadly flash flood ripping through a small town on the Arizona-Utah border. You can hear the screams from shocked residents stunned by the rushing water.
What's happening right now?
Heavy rain falling in the mountains above the canyon town earlier in the day caused the river to rise rapidly, catching onlookers off guard.
Whoa, it's starting to slide.
Watch this video of rescue crews racing to save a family from a car moments from being swept away.
Yeah, they're getting everybody out.
Children pulled quickly from the car windows.
He's starting to build a heck of a dam.
The flood so strong, trees uprooted by the current pileup.
That's pretty powerful.
A search is still underway for several people, after 2 vehicles carrying a total of 16 parked to watch the flood were swept away by the intense rush of water. At least 8 have been found dead, all of the victims' mothers and small children, the youngest just 4 years old.
There's still active floodwaters and very dangerous, very treacherous. The banks are caving off. More significant flood than we've had for quite some time.
This is not what
what you want to stumble into on the beach, a bunch of dead fish.
Smelly. A 10 News viewer sent us these pictures hoping that we could figure out what's going on. So 10 News reporter Joe Little looked into it and learned this happens more often than we know.
This is what was found after a short stroll on Imperial Beach. A bunch of dead fish mixed in with the seaweed.
That looks like a sardine.
They aren't very big. All the ones I found are smaller than my sunglasses. I showed lifeguard Oscar Alvarez the pictures sent to 10 News by a viewer. He knew immediately what was going on.
It happens periodically.
Alvarez says, simply put, El Nino is messing things up for these fish. Warmer water is cooking seaweed and trash in the ocean, and algae is eating it.
And they feed and grow so fast that it sucks the oxygen out of the water and the fish tend to die off. Food, heat, air, and kaboom, you know, you got a big cooking pot.
That cooking pot left dozens of fish on the beach. These pictures were taken Sunday. By Monday, most of them were either eaten by seagulls or washed back out to sea. Alvarez says it's nothing to be worried about. It happens.
Maybe once a year, maybe every 5 years.
It also happens to other species. In June, thousands of dead red tuna crabs washed ashore in La Jolla. El Nino also got the blame. The Imperial Beach locals aren't deterred. In fact, one surfer told me he's rooting for El Nino for the warm water and more rain. We'd rather have the warm water and the rain than care about the fish.
Let's end the drought.
In Imperial Beach, Joe Little.
Here's what was going on near the west coast of France on Sunday. Yeah, a big tornado. Now, it's not like Europe never sees tornadoes, but the interesting thing about this video is, yes, you look at it from afar. Okay, it looks kind of bad. You can see there's definitely at least some level of violence there. But these guys actually end up driving almost right into it. I mean, they're definitely on the outside of it. Look how close they are in this video, and look how violent that wind is. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. Now, there were local reports that there were uprooted trees, roofs blown off buildings, things like that. You know, it's tough for me to tell just from watching the video. I can't tell if they were intentionally trying to get inside it or whether they just accidentally ended up in that situation. But either way, a really good view of the true violence of a tornado.
I want to bring you this breaking news that's coming into us from Cleveland, Mississippi. Cleveland, Mississippi. Apparently there is a situation at Delta State University. It's an active shooter apparently being reported there. Again, if you're looking at the map and it looks odd to you, Cleveland, Mississippi. This is a public university, apparently over 4,000 students. But there have been tweets going out from the Delta State site to students saying that the campus is under lockdown. They are asking everyone, and you can see right there, please stay inside and away from the windows. The campus remains under lockdown. They're saying more information will be distributed as they get it. But they did put out about 19 to 20 minutes ago, could be as much as 22, 23 minutes ago, that an active shooter has been spotted on campus near a place called Job Hall. Please take immediate lockdown action. Again, Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, an active shooter spotted. Everybody there under lockdown. And
we have breaking news on the shooting of a professor at Delta State University. That professor has now been identified, this just in to CNN, as Ethan Schmidt. He is a history professor who we are learning from authorities there was shot and killed at Delta State University. This is according to the deputy coroner of Bolivar County. That deputy coroner saying that Schmidt was actually shot in the head at least once. So this is an active shooter situation there at Delta State University. This is in Cleveland, Mississippi. You can see there, this is a delay. We don't want to give away the operations there on the ground. But you see authorities there, and we just learned from a local reporter on the ground that they believe they have zeroed in on where that shooter may be on campus, a building that
We know that the identity of the professor who was killed at Delta State University this morning has been released. His name was Ethan Schmidt, and he was a history professor. This is all according to the coroner's office in Bolivar County. Now, the deputy coroner also tells CNN that Schmidt was shot in the head at least once. And again, according to authorities, this is still an active, ongoing situation on the campus of Delta State University, which again is located in Cleveland, Mississippi, about 2 hours north of Jackson, Mississippi. We first heard about an active shooter situation on the campus just before noon Eastern in a tweet from the school's official Twitter page saying that a shooter had been spotted near Jobe Hall on campus. The campus was immediately placed on lockdown. Students and faculty have been asked to stay indoors and to stay away from windows until they are given the all clear. The deputy coroner has also told CNN that the professor who was killed was in his office at the time of the shooting. The coroner's office also says no gun was found at the scene, but authorities did find 2 empty shell casings. Brooke, they're still looking for the person who killed this professor this morning.
At any moment, the most talked about county clerk in America is expected back at work for the very first time since she went to jail. Kim Davis, you may recall, was locked up after refusing to obey the Supreme Court ruling on same-sex marriage because of her religious views. Jerika Duncan is in Rowan County Courthouse in Moorhead, Kentucky. Jerika, good morning.
Good morning. With their Bibles and signs in hand, these people behind me started arriving here early this morning in support of Kim Davis. They say they are here to stand against what they call judicial tyranny. Right now, we know of at least one same-sex couple that plans to come here today and ask Davis for a marriage license.
Under whose authority are you not issuing licenses?
It's still unclear what message Kim Davis will have for same-sex couples applying for a marriage license today. Her lawyer says the Rowan County clerk has been relying on her faith to ultimately decide between her conscience and her freedom.
I know that she has told everyone who is listening that she cannot compromise her conscience. She cannot compromise the very core of who she is in order to avoid jail.
Last week, a federal judge released Davis after 5 days behind bars on the condition that she would not interfere with the clerks issuing the licenses.
I just want to give God the glory. His people have rallied, and you are a strong people.
Thousands cheered on the county clerk, but not everyone is giving her a hero's welcome. Over the weekend, this billboard defending same-sex marriage popped up near the Rowan County Courthouse. It reads, "Dear Kim Davis, the fact that you can't sell your daughter for 3 goats and a cow means we've already redefined marriage." The nonprofit organization Planting Peace paid for the ad.
We're trying to send a message that will inspire her to think through this, to recognize that she is acting as an agent of the government, and if she can't fulfill that duty, she needs to resign.
Friday, Davis's legal team filed a motion asking the court to allow Davis to continue banning marriage licenses until the case against her is settled. Meanwhile, at least one deputy clerk here has said he will keep issuing marriage licenses, even if that means disobeying his boss, Kim Davis. Nora?
All right, we will be watching. Jerika, thank you so much.
Marijuana by regulating it, just like alcohol. That's the idea. From one local attorney, said he's seen too many people going to jail for having small amounts of marijuana.
News Channel 5's Michelle Casada live now from the Palm Beach County Jail with more on this latest effort. Michelle?
Michael Kelly, the group Sensible Florida needs 1 million signatures to get this proposal on the 2016 ballot. The Florida Cannabis Act aims to make buying marijuana the same thing as picking up a bottle of your favorite liquor at the store.
Imagine buying marijuana the same way you buy booze. That's what local attorney Michael Minardi is pushing with a new campaign to regulate marijuana similar to alcohol.
We trust people with alcohol, we trust people with tobacco.
Minardi is proposing that as long as you are 21, you would be able to purchase a regulated amount of marijuana.
These people who are using them are responsible adults, and they should have the choice to do that.
Or maybe liquor store owner Mac Patel doesn't think it's a bad idea, but says marijuana and alcohol are not on a level playing field.
I don't think it's gonna be at the same level because alcohol is been around in this country for like over 100 years.
Minardi argues education can change people's perspectives. He's confident the new law would clear our jails.
Let's stop wasting resources. I can sit in court for hours based on a cannabis case. You know, we have courts that are clogged, backlog on systems, hard to get dates for hearings and things of that nature, in a big part due to misdemeanor cannabis cases.
Miami-Dade County and Key West have eased punishments for those caught with a small amount of marijuana. West Palm Beach is considering a similar ordinance. Now, you can find more information about the petition on our website, WPTV.com. Click the link to our story and it'll link you to the page. Reporting live from the Palm Beach County Jail, Michelle Casada, WPTV News Channel 5.
Meanwhile, there are separate efforts to put medical marijuana back on the constitutional amendment ballot in 2016. It fell just shy of the 60% voter approval needed to win passage last year.
Now, Mexico's government has called on Egypt to swiftly investigate why a group of tourists were targeted in an airstrike. At least 2 of the people killed were Mexican citizens. And Egyptian authorities have not said what weapons were involved in Sunday's attack in the Western Desert. 12 people died and 10 more were wounded, but 6 Mexican survivors told Mexico's ambassador to Egypt that they had stopped for a meal when they suffered an aerial attack with bombs launched by a plane and helicopters. Foreign Minister Claudia Ruiz Massieu said she had met with Egypt's ambassador to Mexico and called for an exhaustive investigation on the incident.
Since yesterday, I've been in contact with the Egyptian ambassador in Mexico, Yasser Shaban, and this morning I received him here in the Foreign Ministry, where I gave him a diplomatic note expressing the Mexican government's deep consternation for these deplorable events, and demanded that an expedited and exhaustive investigation be launched, and that an objective explanation be given without delay that clarifies what happened and establishes who was responsible.
Well, this is a new threat that is coming out of KCNA, North Korea's state media. Back in 2013, North Korea vowed to restart operations at its Yongbyon nuclear complex. And according, it says, to the director of the Atomic Energy Institute in North Korea, that facility has normal operations, he says now. And here's a little bit more of what he had to say in this KCNA article. He says, as known by the world, the DPRK, that's North Korea's access to nuclear weapons, is an outcome of the U.S. hostile policy towards it. And he goes on to say, if the U.S. and other hostile forces persistently seek their reckless hostile policy towards the DPRK and behave mischievously, the DPRK is fully ready to cope with them with nuclear weapons at any time. So this is a threat coming out of North Korea to attack the United States with nuclear weapons, and it comes ahead of a major anniversary that North Korea is planning to mark next month, the 70th anniversary of the founding of its Workers' Party. And there's speculation that there may be more provocation from North Korea at that time. And fueling this is a separate KCNA article that has recently come out saying that North Korea is in the final stages of developing a new satellite. And it says it's for peaceful purposes, but many believe that's just code for testing ballistic missile technology, which would be in violation of UN sanctions against North Korea. I spoke to the United States ambassador to South Korea, Mark Lippert, and here's what he had to say about that.
We've moved over time a good deal of missile defense capability to the region, ground-based interceptors to Alaska, surface combatants to the Western Pacific, a THAAD battery on Guam, another radar in Japan, in order to be ready and vigilant for anything that the North Koreans may or may not do.
North Korea does say that satellite launch would be for peaceful purposes. Do you believe it could be anything but a veiled test of ballistic missile technology?
Well, past practice has shown that the North has consistently violated United Nations Security Council resolutions, international norms, and conducted ballistic missile launches that have brought widespread condemnation from the international community.
So the United States says it is ready to take on any new threat from North Korea, and South Korea's defense ministry also says it is closely watching these developments.
Sumatra on fire. Thousands of hectares of forest and bush are burning, creating thick, choking smog that is spreading far beyond Indonesia's borders. Airports are closed, and early on the economic consequences appear to be huge. But it's the effect on people's health that is most worrying. Hospitals are filled with people suffering from respiratory diseases. These are up 13% compared to last year. The doctors have only one word of advice: evacuate. An impossible task, since millions of people live in the affected areas.
People here are slowly but surely killed by the smoke, especially the elderly and people suffering from respiratory diseases. Small children and pregnant women run a huge risk.
Budi Warman was diagnosed with lung cancer after living in the worst-hit area all his life. He had to leave his village due to the smog.
We common people don't know what to do anymore. We can only hope the government will finally do something. I cannot even talk about my future. They have to stop the fire now because all of us are suffering.
Farmers and plantation companies have been caught deliberately setting their land on fire, the cheapest and fastest way to clear land. Indonesia has become the world's largest palm oil exporter in the past 2 decades. Much of the forest land was cleared using fire.
For nearly 2 decades, people here every year during the dry season are breathing smoke-filled air. The government has failed to change the culture of land clearance, and a punishment of 10 years in prison for arsonists is hardly ever enforced.
In Riau, only 3 companies in the past 18 years have been brought to court for setting their land ablaze. The new forestry minister, who is heading an emergency task force, promises harsher actions.
I apologize because we have to face this problem altogether. We tried very hard to stop the fires in Riau, but now they are burning in the south of Sumatra, and the haze goes everywhere. Let's do this together. Let's overcome it together. I'm monitoring events every hour.
The government has announced that companies won't be allowed to operate anymore when their land is found to be on fire, deliberately lit or not. The worst cases will be blacklisted. Thousands of soldiers have been sent to Sumatra to battle the fires, but most of them are raging in peat several meters deep. It makes it almost impossible to extinguish the fires. Step Vassen, Al Jazeera, Riau, Sumatra.
At least 16 people are known dead in Utah after powerful floods turned deadly twice in one day. Officials at Zion National Park say heavy rain sent flash floods through a narrow canyon late Monday, killing at least 4 people.
5 minutes of the most intense
blowing storm I've ever seen.
3 people are missing, and rescue workers are staying out of the canyon due to the risk of more floods.
It's pretty much like one of our worst nightmares. So literally, as soon as the rain started coming, people started to, worry about the flash flooding in the area.
Oh my goodness, it's huge. Getting bigger.
The Zion floods came on the same day that a massive flood swept away several vehicles about 20 miles to the south near the Utah-Arizona border. 3 women and 13 children were trapped in 2 vehicles that were caught in the deluge. At least 12 people died. 3 children survived.
We just kind of just scraped through all of it and ripped our hair out and all that kinds of cool stuff and got to the vans, and the little boy was standing there that had got out, and he said, "Are you guys gonna help me?" And I said, "Yeah." Oh, and that van! Oh dear, there's 2 vehicles! Oh no, there's 2 vehicles!
A nearby resident videotaped the flood carrying a van, an SUV, and a car near her home. Police have not confirmed if any flood victims were inside the vehicles.
It's heart-wrenching because I have children and my mother, and it's just hard.
Flash floods are not unusual in southern Utah. However, the National Weather Service calls Monday's disaster a 100-year event. Sandy Kozel, The Associated Press.